Welcome to The Cauldron, a podcast hosted by Ed Bolden-Greer, the creator of Ravens Vail. In each episode, Ed will have free-flowing conversations about horror, life, culture, and personal growth. Expect to hear from storytellers, authors, horror experts, life gurus, thought leaders, and influencers. The Cauldron is a place where concoctions of a lot of ideas are brewed down to potions that are sometimes important and useful, sometimes eccentric and bizarre, but always just what you need. The Cauldron podcast may contain explicit language and thematic elements not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, hey there, family. Welcome back to the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast, where the whispers of wisdom echo and the warmth of our community gathers. As the cauldron simmers, we're here to brew a concoction of topics that resonate with the soul and spark the imagination. I'm your host, Ed Bolden-Greer, and this is my co-host, Jacob Garner, a.k.a. Frady Cat.
Hello, everyone. Pride Month is a time to reflect on the struggles and triumphs of the LGBTQ plus community throughout history. It is a celebration of the progress made and a reminder of the work that still lies ahead. In today's episode, we'll explore the significance of Pride Month, the importance of inclusivity, and our personal stories and how we have been impacted by it.
So how you doing, Jacob?
Wonderful. I'm full of delicious pot pie.
It was really good. I think that finding that KFC had one of the best pot pies in town was
Sweet. We're going to get some angry Knoxvillian to be like, you idiots you've not heard of.
Yeah, I know. That's okay. We'll try all pot pies. We like them. Jacob, I know you heard about Representative Jasmine Crockett's statement, bleach blonde, bad-built, butch body.
Yes, I did.
During the May 16th House Oversight Committee hearing when she clashed with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. Anytime I have to read anything involving MTG, I can feel my
You mean Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I just lose brain cells every time. I freaking hate her so much, man.
For some context for this exchange, just before the comment, Marjorie Taylor Greene made some disparaging comments on Crockett's appearance, saying, "I think your fake eyelashes are messing up what you're reading," during the committee hearing. In response, Crockett criticized Greene's comment as racist. Duh.
Yeah,
and,
no shit.
And explained that they were part of a broader pattern where people on social media have used stereotypes to demean black women.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
It was,
bold-faced, exactly what it fucking was.
Crockett emphasized that the issue was not about false eyelashes themselves, but rather Greene specifically targeting her. Representative James Comer from Kentucky's 1st Congressional District, who's the current chair of the House Oversight Committee, seemed legitimately confused, seemingly not paying any attention to Greene. And, I mean, why would you?
He's an idiot. He probably has the same brainworm as RFK. It's so stupid.
Comer essentially did nothing to admonish Greene for her behavior. That's not a big surprise.
Yeah.
AOC came in and rebuked Greene's comments as disgusting and unacceptable remarks about Crockett, saying, "How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?"
Yeah.
Crockett then asked for a point of clarification where she asked, and I thought this was brilliant, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad-built, butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct? Showing his utter lack of understanding for the committee's rules, Comer ultimately said the word exchange between Representative Jasmine Crockett and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene were not personal attacks and were not removed from the official record, meaning for time and eternity, those words are going to be in our congressional archives.
You know, I gotta say, I mean, bad built, bleach blonde, butch body, whatever. That's
Bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
That's actually in comparison to some of the things I actually feel about MTG.
It's pretty kind.
That's pretty kind, actually. Yeah. So I'm glad they added that one to the record. I hate her so much.
Shout out to the lovely Sarah Claxton and all the folks over at Knoxville Horror who were out representing the horror community as they took over the stadium at the Tennessee Smokies Stadium on May 18th for the Halfway to Halloween celebration. I'm really proud of all the work they're doing over there.
And it was certainly a success story having Michael Myers throw out the first pitch of the game.
Can you imagine?
Dude, that's hilarious. I hope he did it stoically.
We met the character that plays the cosplays Michael Myers at FrankenCon.
Yeah, and
he's a great guy.
If you remember at CreepyCon last time we were there, he was in the like raggedy haunted doll costume.
Yeah.
Also at FrankenCon, he gave us some free candy, which was awesome. He's a great guy.
So Jacob, before we get into it today, are you ready for your would you rather questions?
Heck yeah, dude. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Would you rather lose all the money you earned this year?
Mm-hmm.
Or lose all the memories you made this year?
No brainer. I'd lose all the money.
Okay.
Money can buy memories. Like if I buy a trip to like Kosovo or something like that, whatever, make memories there. But I've had some pretty significant memories this year that I'd drain the bank account to relive them. Honestly, they're pretty good.
You're pretty frugal, first of all, but you're also really good at finances and savings and everything. So I think you could lose a year's worth of money and be okay.
I don't give a shit.
I think some of the memories we've made, it would be worth a year's salary.
I think so too. Yeah.
You still 5 foot.
Yeah. Dude, you're going to put that on my tombstone.
Yep.
All right. So here's yours. Would you rather be locked in a room with your ex for 24 hours or go on a date with someone whose political beliefs are the total opposite of yours?
Oh, Lord.
Let's pick MTG.
Yeah.
That's who you're locked in a room with.
Jesus Christ, help me. So where do you come up with these?
I don't know, man.
This is a really good question. I think there's an obvious answer here for me. I would go be locked in a room with my ex for 24 hours because I'm still friends with all my exes. We all hang out occasionally in groups. So that wouldn't be a big stretch for me.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't know. In today's political climate, as polarized as it is, I don't see wasting my time going out on a date with somebody, even if it's a booty call, to have to put up with that. I'm too old to listen to somebody's shenanigans. If it's a one night stand just doesn't interest me anymore. Of course, I'm married, but a one night stand would hold zero interest for me. It would have to be, a booty call, show up and leave before I'd be interested if I was single.
So what if they like walked in, like you meet some guy, you open up the door, and he's got like a MAGA hat on, you just immediately just like
slam that door. Slam that door. You ain't gonna come in and pee on me. You follow your religious leader there.
Are you ready for a dad joke?
Oh, yes.
Come on.
Wait, am I ready for a dad joke?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What do you call a pig who knows how to use a butcher knife?
This could go so many different ways.
It's a pork chop.
Oh, I was thinking cop. Yeah, a pork chop. No, God, that's so bad. Okay. I mean, no disrespect to any law enforcement officers out there.
Said there was. Oh, never mind.
That one time you went out on a date with a cop.
Yeah, no. And any of the cops involved in the Stonewall riots.
He loved the handcuffs, by the way. If you're listening,
he didn't remember me my Miranda rights. That was the weird part. Anyway,
put you in the back of the car and got into. To kick off today's episode, Jacob and I would like to truly and sincerely wish everyone a happy Pride Month. We're going to be talking about the history of Pride Month and have an open conversation about the LGBTQ plus experience. But there's a trigger warning. This content includes discussions and themes related to the queer community. And that's how we will refer to the LGBTQ plus community in this episode. This episode may include personal narratives, experiences of discrimination, and other sensitive content, including sexual, religious, and political topics not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Pride Month is an annual celebration that takes place every June to honor and celebrate the queer community and commemorate the historical milestones in the fight for equal human rights. It is a time for people to come together, celebrate diversity, raise awareness, and promote equality. The history of Pride Month dates back to the Stonewall riots, which occurred in June 1969 in New York City. In the early mornings of June 28, 1969, a police raid took place at the Stonewall Inn. Tired of constant harassment, queer patrons and activists fought back against the police, sparking a series of protests and demonstrations that lasted for days. This uprising, known as the Stonewall Riots, is considered a catalyst for the modern queer rights movement.
At that time, queer individuals faced widespread discrimination and harassment. The Stonewall Inn, a popular gay bar in Greenwich Village, became a site of a pivotal event in the queer rights movement. The first official Pride Parade took place in New York City on June 28, 1970, marking the first anniversary of the Stonewall Riots. The event drew thousands of participants and became an annual tradition. As the queer rights movement gained momentum, Pride parades started taking place in other cities across the United States and around the world. These parades became a symbol of unity, resilience, and pride for the queer community.
Over the years, Pride Month has evolved into a month-long celebration of queer culture, history, and activism. It includes various events such as parades, festivals, panel discussions, art exhibitions, and community gatherings. Pride Month serves as a platform to highlight the ongoing struggles faced by the queer community, as well as the achievements and progress made towards equality.
Today, Pride Month is recognized and celebrated globally, with millions of people coming together to show support for queer rights and promote inclusivity. It is a reminder of the ongoing fight for equality and the importance of creating a world where everyone can live authentically and without fear of discrimination based on their sexual orientation or gender identity.
I think the thing that bothers me the most is how in 2024, the queer community is still struggling for basic human rights.
I know. It's so bad. I remember back in 1996, I don't know how old you were then.
1 year old.
1 year old.
Yeah.
God, I feel old. But I remember getting in a bus. It was a short bus.
I'm sure.
And
we should probably cut that. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Don't cut that. It was a short bus, almost like a van. And there were about 14 of us that piled into that van. And we went on a trip to Washington, D.C. for the first ever March on Washington for the queer community. I remember being so overwhelmed. Here I was in a sea of rainbows and pink triangles, people holding hands, which I never had seen. But it instilled in me a confidence that I wasn't the only one. And by this time in my life, I already knew about the gay community far more than I had growing up. I grew up in a very small, rural Tennessee town where I thought, I was the only person. And then I found a few more people in my town. But honestly, I always felt very isolated and very alone. I rarely had anybody to talk to anything about, especially my feelings, where I could be authentically myself. So I just remember being in that environment with millions. I think there were 6 million people there.
Holy shit.
Okay. And seeing all different kinds of people. People dressed in leather, people that were trans, people doing drag, people in skimpy outfits, people who were dressed like fairies, people who were everything you can imagine. And I just remember celebrating it in my heart and thinking, these are my people, you know? And it was during that time, and you probably heard me say this before, but it was during that time that I kind of went, so we have this pride flag. And the pride flag to me reminds me to be proud of who I am and to be my authentic self. But in that moment, the pride flag was like every color of the rainbow equated to all of the people that were there.
Yeah.
And every person that was there was like family to me, you know? And I went to a lot of the demonstrations, and I watched, and we marched in the parade, and it was a fabulous thing. We went back several years in a row. As you know, I've been very active in not just the queer community, but in Black Lives Matter before it was Black Lives Matter, and the women's movement, and to rid the world of xenophobia and the whole 9 yards. But that one was real personal to me. And it stands out as one of the hallmark moments of my life.
I never really experienced anything on that level, because you have to keep in mind, like, I grew up moving around a lot, you know? And then when we finally settled here in Tennessee, it was really, really odd.
Well, you were in the Loudon.
In the Loudon, where the rainbow had a completely different connotation here. You would see rainbow flags everywhere where we grew up, California, you know, Las Vegas, all that other stuff. And that was to celebrate sexual orientation and expression, you know? And then you get into the South, and it could not have meant anything more of an opposite. It was people quite literally drawing a line in the sand and reminding you that this is the Bible Belt. I remember, actually, since we're talking about the pride flag, I was a part of a vacation Bible school when I was 13 or 14 years old. And the theme of the vacation Bible school was taking back the rainbow.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was very bizarre, because these Christians really felt like that their identity had been stolen by the gay community.
Yeah, and how weird is that the rainbow is a promise from God. And, you know, the queer community chose that for obvious different reasons. But for me, as a Christian and a queer, it was such a symbol for me that God still loved me and affirmed me, even though I was gay.
And at its very essence, I think that the rainbow, both in the religious and pride context, is a symbol of hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that it's very ironic that Christians want to use the rainbow to destroy a community when that was not the original purpose, according to their book, why they saw it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It was, you know, if we're going to talk about the religious side of this, then we have to jump into the homophobia that has been created. It is not inherent to Christianity. It has been created. And if you really want to know the truth about it, I think it was created by extremists. Okay, because I don't believe that most Christians who love God and want to follow Christ have fundamental beliefs either way.
No,
Most Christians believe that people should do what they want to do and live the way they want to live, which is how God told us to live.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I've gotten up on this soapbox so many times. Today's church is outside of Christ. We look. Just the other day, we were talking about in a meeting when we were talking about social issues and how we could best approach and help with those. We were talking about how the churches rarely, if any, open their doors when the temperatures go below freezing to allow homeless people to come in. I think I said that on this podcast even.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but multi-million-dollar churches that are not contributing to feeding the hungry, yes, you might put a 2x2 food box outside. You might even have a food pantry that members can come to. But very few churches have a food bank where people can come and get food when they need it.
Yeah.
And, we have children starving because they don't have enough food. And
it's ridiculous that their focus is on anti-LGBT
anything.
legislation.
Yeah.
As opposed to
or keeping people out of the church.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, it is not love to say, hate the sin, love the sinner.
Yeah.
That's such a crock of shit.
No, yeah. It's a cop out.
It is a cop out
that they use quite often.
And I can tell you, if somebody loves me, I can tell that they love me.
Yeah.
They show it in their actions. And I've had Christians who say, why don't you come to church?
Yeah.
And I always say, well, I'm gay. How would they feel if Jared and I came to church?
Mm-hmm.
And they all start, nobody would care. Nobody would mind.
Yeah, it's a crock of shit.
And yeah, it's not true. They believe that because that's in their heart. They don't care.
Yeah.
And then I'll go on and say, do you have any gay people in the church? No, not really. Not that I know of. And then I ask another question. Are there any gay people? If there are gay people at the church, I ask this question. Are there any gay people in leadership in your church? Right?
And there are some religious organizations that
Absolutely.
exist that completely open their doors and arms to both membership and leadership. We're not saying that they're all in the same basket.
Right.
Christianity is not a monolith.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And here again, I am what you might consider a typical Christian. I struggle calling myself a Christian today because of the way mainstream Christianity treats people.
Yeah. And
how it's devolved into something I believe Jesus Christ would just be appalled by, And so I am in no way saying that all Christians are this way. And if you're not and you're listening, I thank God for you. I want to fellowship with you. But you have to look around you. And we have to take responsibility. That's why I'm speaking out right now. Because if I'm complacent and it's allowed to continue and people are injured and hurt through that, I'm as guilty as everybody else. And so if I'm a church member and I'm sitting in the back of the church or in the middle of the church or the front of the church or I'm sitting in the choir and I know that my church is or would be discriminatory and unloving towards a gay person that came, a trans person that came, a gay couple or a lesbian couple that wanted to join the church and fellowship with other Christians, then shame on you. Even if you're not one of those people, your silence equals death for somebody.
Yeah. And I think I want to bring up a topic that I think would be kind of relevant because you said something, how would you feel if me and Jared showed up? So, I mean, what does being out mean to you?
Well, I think before we talk about being out, we have to talk about being in the closet.
Yeah, that's true.
We talk about being in the closet and, we take back our power a lot by joking about being in the closet I was in the closet. Yeah. And I like to say that when I came out of the closet, things got really, really shabby in the closet because my fabulousness left. But I do think that it's important to talk about being in the closet first. And I want to say a lot of queer people, especially younger queer people, don't have that really, unless their families were very vocal about the queer issues facing
people in the deep South, the deep Midwest.
So they may not have the reality that I had growing up.
Yeah.
And that many of my friends had. So coming out of the closet or being out of the closet, I think is a personal choice. Okay?
Of course. It's nobody's
And-
business but yours.
And I also want to say there are people who are completely out of the closet and living their authentic life. I consider myself in that circle for the most part. But if I go into a meeting, a state or federal meeting that I have to attend, one of the things that I don't do right off the bat is go, "Hey, everybody, I'm gay."
Yeah, I'm the same way at my gym.
Yeah,
I'm the exact same way.
I have to read the room,
Yeah, you have to.
and that's because of safety.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially nowadays.
Yeah, and so being in the closet is really, I'm going to talk about it in a spectrum
Yeah.
because I even go in the closet sometimes.
And for our listeners, on the off chance that they don't know what that term means, what does being in the closet mean?
Well, being in the closet is when you're hiding your true identity.
Yeah.
Okay. An example of that might be when I was in high school, I was dating guys,
Mm-hmm.
but to my parents, they were friends.
Yeah.
And I would go out on a date, but it was never as a date to everyone around me. I couldn't come home and have my mother or father say, "How'd your date go?"
Yeah.
You know? In fact, when a group of my friends, when we were going to our junior prom, we had to, two lesbians, two gay men, had to kind of switch partners with tickets and all of that. And it's embarrassing today to think that I just didn't have the balls to do it. But when you're, 16, 17, your entire world is the people around you.
Exactly. Their perception of you. And then you got the societal and familial pressures. I don't think it was a lack of balls. I think it's a danger assessment at the end of the day.
It was in the town I lived in. I've made posts on Facebook, and people who I grew up with who knew I was queer or gay, they all said, "Well, we just didn't really care." And it's true. Those people that come back and said that didn't, but they also, I guess I should say, they didn't really see the bullying and the torture that every gay person that was in that school went through.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And even some people, like guys that were more effeminate but that were heterosexual, went through.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess I want to reach out right now and say to all those people that are living in those remote areas that identify as queer, whether it's trans, whether it's gay, bisexual, whatever you're identifying as, that are younger, I want to say this: it gets better.
It does.
And don't give up hope. Stay in the closet as long as you need to for your safety. Don't let anyone shame you out of the closet.
No.
The most important thing is that you arrive on the other side of your adulthood when you can start taking care of yourself and you can be an independent human being, you're of majority, safe.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think it's very unhealthy and unhelpful for other queer members to talk to a closeted brother or sister person, and be like, "You just need to come out. You just need to let the world know and fuck anybody that hates you." That's not the solution in most cases.
That's pretty toxic, actually.
It really is, because you are coming to terms with how you feel about the world around you, and you don't need anybody else to tell you how you should present yourself.
Or how you should feel.
Exactly. So I think the internet gets a bad rap with social media and the influence that it's having on younger generations. But I think one thing that I could speak to is the connectivity that the internet provides, right? For example, we'll just use a tangent real quick. Let's say I really liked hippopotamuses, right?
Hippopotamuses.
Hippopotami?
Hippopotami.
Okay, hippos. Let's say I like hippos, right? If I really liked hippos and nobody around me liked hippos, I'm in a landlocked state or something like that. Prior to the internet, I couldn't talk to anybody about it. Right. But now with the invention of the internet, I can find multiple groups of people literally dedicated to just showing videos, pictures, fan fiction about hippos, whatever. And I think while there is a lot of detriment to this interconnectivity that we have, I think it offers a refuge to a lot of people that are still in the closet.
Absolutely. And here again, in the closet is a spectrum.
Yeah.
And we all go in and out of it based on our innate sense of safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's very nice that people want you to come out of the closet.
Yeah.
I think that it's toxic when people are trying to force you out of the closet. I will say from my personal experience, I was outed to my parents. A very vengeful person who wasn't even mad at me, who was mad at something that I was associated with but really didn't have a part in.
Yeah.
Called my parents and told them. Or my father had already passed away, and he knew. But my mother, who grew up essentially very Southern country, okay, going to a Pentecostal holiness church, couldn't, to this day, she still can't wrap her mind around it. I haven't really been in contact with her or any of my family for a long time.
It's their loss.
Well, the way I deal with that is that I continue to love them unconditionally. I just don't have to be around them.
Yeah.
I can extend that love to them. I still do birthday cards and all of the things. I just choose not to be in their presence. And, one of the things that helped me make that decision is when I was about to get married, my mother made it very clear that I would always be welcome, but my partner would never be welcome. And I believe in the sanctity of marriage.
Yeah.
Not like a lot of so-called Christians do.
Yeah.
But I believe that when my marriage was anointed, God made us one being.
Yeah.
Two separate entities, but one unit, one group.
Yeah.
So if I'm welcome and he's not, then I'm not welcome.
That's exactly right.
And that's how I felt.
Yeah.
And so as much as I love my mother, and as much as I love my aunts and uncles, and as much as growing up, I absolutely, adored my brother. I'm sorry, guys. This is really unacceptable. As much as I adored my little brother and I worshipped at the ground he walked on, I thought he could do no wrong. He's not been the same person since he got married. I've never been allowed to be in a room alone with his children. There was a time where I was trying to go home and celebrate holidays and things. I never got to be the uncle I could have been. I was never allowed to interact with the children. It's not worth talking about, but maybe this would help somebody else. And I just came to a realization about 10 years ago that I'm worth more than that.
Yeah.
And that if you don't value me, then you can't be near me.
Yeah.
You can't have this energy. So,
And I think that speaks to another valid reason why some people remain in the closet, because they care so much about certain people in their life. It's sad. It's sad to think that you kind of have to pull a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation,
Well, the sad thing to me is that you're loving those people with all your whole heart.
Yeah.
And you're loving them authentically, but you're really not.
You're not, yeah.
Because they don't know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't stop the authenticity of the love, but they don't love you in return with unconditional love. And I'm not willing to abide conditions placed on my love or conditions placed on the love you give me. I'm no longer willing to abide that.
I think that's fair.
So, guys, if you're in the closet, I will say, I encourage everybody who can safely to come out of the closet because it's such a better life.
Oh God, yeah, dude, it's amazing.
Not having to worry about things is such a better life. Not having to, I'll say it this way: queer individuals, from the time they gain the ability to know that they are queer, have to live a life of lies.
Yeah.
And we become very good at it.
Mm.
And it was when I was 21 years old. I was out of the house. I no longer relied on any financial support or anything except emotional support from my family, that I realized then that I was a liar. Because I was making up stories about everything because it became such a habit. Even things I didn't have to lie about. But one lie causes another lie. And, you're going over to your boyfriend's house to spend the night, and his parents don't know, and your parents don't know. But what you really do is you wind up driving 52 miles to Knoxville to go to a gay bar so you can be together. And then you drive home at 3 a.m. in the morning and crawl through the window, and his parents think that you've been asleep all night.
Yeah.
And that happened a lot, but it was a lie, And so when I was 21, I learned that there's no reason to lie. If there's something so important that you have to lie about it, you probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And that people that are still in the closet, do what you got to do. There will be zero judgment from me, but there'll come a time where you have to realize that the way you grew up does not have to be how you live.
Well, hey there, family. This is Melanie Alexander, the merchandising manager for the Ravens Vail Podcast Network. Would it support you or your family to make additional income without having to leave your job, buy inventory, build a team underneath you, or invest significant money up front? I have been listening to so many of you who need this type of relief in your lives without taking you away from your personal life and families even more than you already are. So I came up with a solution. I'm launching a new company, Creating Goodness, and are recruiting those who share a heart for supporting locally made and ethically sourced products. You'll be so excited to learn who our local vendors are. With a simple app on your phone and marketing materials provided for you, you will be set up for success to share this curated virtual gift shop with your friends, family, clients, church members, and anyone in your sphere of influence. They get to enter and exit through the gift shop that lives on your phone. You don't have to carry any inventory. You don't have to deal with shipping. We are not an MLM, so no building a team underneath you. All you do is share our carefully selected products with the people you care about, and you will get paid. You will also be supporting local small business owners who share the same values that we do about creating goodness in our world. We were noticing that big companies only use big influencers to sell their products. So we developed the technology for anyone, influencer or not, to be able to spread the word about quality products they love and get paid too. So if you're curious about making a little extra money, contact us at creatinggoodness.com. Thanks for listening, and always never underestimate the power of kindness. Bye.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, which, as you know, is most of my life not working. But I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about little white lies.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a priest who actually said, little white lies are not bad if they're saving somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
Do you like that shirt? Yes, it's great. It looks great on you. And I don't know that I agree with that or disagree with that. But what I do know is that for me, absolute honesty is essential. But I also want to put out there that honesty does not mean hurting other people's feelings.
No, yeah.
Those people who go around saying, well, I'm just honest that way, when they say things that hurt people's feelings, there's a way to say things, and there's sometimes that you should just keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah.
Because it's not your business.
Yeah.
So
I think ultimately, if you can be honest with yourself, then your honesty with others is going to follow.
It will. Yeah. It got to where, because I was trying to be so honest about who I was, that dishonesty became this disgusting thing.
Yeah.
And I would see people who and the intuitive side of myself knows when you're lying to me, you know? And I would just be like, I don't want to judge this person for lying because they've probably lived a life where they had to lie.
Exactly.
You know? And I began to try to find ways to make it safe for people to be honest with me.
I think one thing that you're really hitting on too is that if you constantly have to lie, right, your personality becomes interwoven with being dishonest.
Right. Well, that comes back to being in the closet and being out. There's this thing that families do. When somebody comes out, that person begins to be able to now fully explore all of the facets that make up personality, make up the person. And families are like, well, you know, now that you're gay, you've just changed.
No.
You know, or friends say that. Well, that's because now I'm allowed to change. Now I'm allowed to be who I authentically want to be that makes me happy.
Yeah.
And in that process of finding who you are, sometimes you go through things that you don't know if you're interested in. I have friends who, when they came out, they went through a drag phase.
Yeah.
But they're not drag queens today. You know, and it may have been a week. It may have been more than that. I remember Paul, who has been my best friend for 8 months.
Yeah.
36 years.
A couple of times.
For a couple of years. Back when we were just coming out of high school and we had started living on our own.
Yeah.
And we had moved to Knoxville from that small area where we were from. And he experimented with drag.
Yeah.
You know, and almost all of my friends experimented with some type of drugs, and we were drinking when we were 15 and 16, you know, and most of us were illegally going into clubs here in Knoxville on the weekends, even though we weren't old enough to do it. So
I think that speaks to the absolute desperation that somebody that grows up in a very kind of closed-minded environment, the lengths that they're willing to go to just to seek a sense of, even if it's for a couple of hours,
community.
I get to be myself.
Yeah.
Which I think now, being out, depending on, I'm going to make a general statement. I think being out now is easier than it's ever been, I think. And this isn't to discount anybody that's not out right now, obviously. But I ultimately have hope that in my lifetime, sexual expression, gender expression, all this stuff we're going to laugh at the way that the current political climate treats queer people. We're going to laugh at it from a dark place. Like, I can't believe how backwards they were.
Yeah, you said on another podcast when we were talking about trans individuals that the way we view Jim Crow today, in years from now, we're going to see the same thing happening with the queer community.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very insightful. In fact, that stuck with me, and I've thought about that since you said it that day.
I'm telling you, and
occasionally you have a good thought.
Hey, the blind squirrel finds a nut at least once, right?
Right. You know, often when I talk to people who are truly seeking to understand the whole queer movement, right? Yeah. I mean, they get the love part,
of course,
that you're attracted to somebody, that you love somebody, but you know, I'll often get, well, why is pride important? Why don't we have straight pride?
Oh, my God.
Now let me say, that question, why don't we have straight pride, coming from somebody who's truly questioning, I don't get offended by it.
No, yeah. There's a difference. There's a difference. Huge difference.
If somebody wants to really know why we have pride, okay, the reason we have Pride Month is the same reason we have a month in February to celebrate Black History Month.
Yeah.
Okay. The same reason we have a month for Women's History. But even though those two groups still struggle, they are farther along than we are. If we look at history,
Yeah.
Our movement has really just begun. We still today don't have safety.
No.
We may have marriage, which gives us some tax benefits in some cases, and we have, federally, our jobs are protected. We're in the non-discrimination, non-discrimination policy. But at the state level, especially in the South, they're still coming after us.
Yeah.
We have not won the war. We have only won a few battles.
I mean, last year alone in 2023, there were, let me check the number real quick, at least 510 anti-LGBTQ bills that were introduced into state legislators. Now, not all of those got passed. Some of them got shot down. But, I mean, even if less than half got passed, you're not seeing laws
just
passed
so
against.
You're aware, probably half of those were in Tennessee.
I guarantee it. It's
I was so disappointed with our state legislature last year and the year before because all they could focus on, they couldn't get to the really important things like starving kids and protecting our kids from being killed in schools.
Yeah.
Oh, and kind of off the pride subject for a minute. Nobody wants to take away your guns. Nobody wants to take away your Second Amendment rights. We want to protect children. And nobody's offering a solution to that. And so we need to find a solution.
I'm pretty sure if you were to add up all the children killed by gun violence last year versus how many drag kings or queens killed children, you're going to be shocked at the disparity.
You'll be very shocked.
In that number. We had over 40 bills passed last year. I just looked it up. 40 bills passed into law.
And half of them or more were struck down.
And it's ridiculous. And some of them are still in various different things. Yep. Again, to anybody listening where you sit around and you go, I find it ridiculous that Tennessee keeps passing these laws, then vote. It's exactly that simple.
Yeah, Tennessee keeps passing them. Federal judges keep striking them down. I guess to answer those questions, though, why do we have gay pride or queer pride? Because I want to be inclusive.
Yeah.
And why is it important? Well, why is it important? Because somewhere there is a kid growing up that's terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere there's an adult who's an employee somewhere who's terrified that their job is at stake if somebody finds out.
Exactly.
Somewhere there's a person whose heart is breaking because they can't love the person that they love.
Yep.
That's why it's important on the surface. But more than that, equality and equity, which are not the same thing.
It's not.
Are important because in our Constitution, in the way we should treat people in general, it doesn't specify. There should be no difference in how a woman is treated and how a man is treated, how someone of color is treated and someone who's Caucasian is treated. There should be equity, equality, and we should embrace that diversity. We should be inclusive of all people and all classes of people, which would eliminate class, which would take away most of the world's problems.
One thing I believe from somebody who may come from a genuine point of confusion, why is there no straight pride, right? I think, in my opinion, that you need to shift the paradigm away. Like, should I be ashamed of being straight? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. That's who you are.
I think pride in general, not just gay pride, but pride, just a phrase, pride should stem from the fact that you're proud of who you love. Doesn't matter who it is.
Well, let me alter that a little bit because I believe that's true, but I believe there's an overarching one. Pride in who you are.
Exactly. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think calls for straight pride that come from somebody going, oh, there's a gay pride month. Well, I want a straight pride month. I honestly believe that the true intention behind that is to undermine and mock the queer community.
Yep.
Then an actual wholesome and genuine effort to actually celebrate their heterosexuality. If I'm being 100% honest, that's how it comes across. I don't believe that.
Well, let's face it, heterosexuality is celebrated in everything we do.
Exactly.
It's so rare that I see a gay couple on a television show. It's more today, we can see it more than when I was growing up, and we just had this conversation the other day. If you look at all of the gay or quote, quote, gay acting characters of the past, they were all villains.
Yeah.
And the villainization of the queer community is something that allowed us to be seen, and we embraced it. And I don't mean that we embrace being villains.
No.
But like
maybe some of them.
Maybe you. But I think that it's important to note that all of the movies and all of the animated movies and everything where there's a perceived gay villain are the most popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because there's far more of us out there than you could ever imagine.
Oh, yeah.
They used to say 10%. Those numbers are way underestimated.
Yeah. Even now, I don't believe, even as the culture has now shifted in the U.S. where more and more people are feeling, there's still a sizable chunk of a percentage, I'm sure, that is not even being accounted for.
Well, and I will say this. Why do we have pride? Why don't we have straight pride? Right? Those questions.
Yeah.
I would put it that most of the queer community embrace straight people coming to pride and celebrating their sexuality.
Yeah.
And celebrating their individuality and their authenticity. I would love to someday have a human pride event. But here's what I was really getting at.
Mm-hmm.
The same stupid people that said, why do we need Black Lives Matter? All lives should matter.
Yeah.
Okay? Those same people are the same people who are saying, why do we need gay pride? Why don't we have a straight pride?
Yeah.
Okay?
Where's our White History Month?
Yeah. And it's where we need to put our focus in order to have humans treating humans well.
And Pride Month isn't just a celebration of one's sexuality or gender expression. Pride Month serves as kind of like a tribute to all of the advancements, struggles, fights, arrests, everything that queer people had to endure to reach the level of equality and visibility that they have today. Same way that Black History Month, you acknowledge civil rights leaders and say their struggle was brutal. They're not just saying that month is only for people to high-five each other for being Black. That's not what that month is about.
Not what that month is about.
You talk about Rosa Parks. You talk about MLK. You talk about these pivotal figures in their history during that month, the same way that we would talk about Harvey Milk.
Right. It's also a time to check in. Where are we today?
Exactly.
You asked me a question on Tuesday of last week, I believe, and I never got back to you with the answer.
Yeah.
But Knoxville Pride Fest this year is, I believe, on October 5th and 6th. It may be 4th and 5th, but I know that the actual festival is on October 5th.
Okay.
We'll be talking more about that in our next episode.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to give them a little spotlight. And that's also to say there's other pride events and pride organizations in the Knoxville area. There's SoCo Pride and West Knox Pride and all of those. But the Knoxville Pride Fest is on October 5th. And it has, you can go to their website, see all the events listing. I looked it up that day and just never got back to you.
You're a busy man.
Well, still, sorry about not getting back to you on that. I will say, luckily this year, they're on October 5th and not on October 12th.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Please don't change it.
Yeah, don't change it this year. Last year, Pride had to be rearranged in Knoxville, and they moved to the same day as the Appalachian Horror Fest that we sponsor. And this year, Appalachian Horror Fest is on Saturday, October 12th. It'll be at the Central Cinema here in Knoxville, in Happy Holler. And we're really looking forward to it. We are partnering with some great groups.
Yeah.
And we've got a bunch of great sponsors and good storytellers. If anybody out there is interested in being a storyteller, go to the AppalachianHorrorFest.com website and click on storytellers, and you can see all of the information. If you're interested in sponsoring or if you want to be a volunteer, go out there. Ticket sales are on right now. We are very limited in tickets. We only have 120 tickets to sell to the event, and we've already sold a third of them out. So if you're wanting to go, I'd say get your tickets early. Even though it's not until October, people have been buying them pretty steadily.
Yeah. And as we get closer, you better believe those tickets are going to go up.
Going back to that question of why pride is important is because hate still exists.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know? And I wanted to bring up two terms for us to talk about. I'm not trying to say that they're the same term in any way.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about homophobia
Okay.
and transphobia.
I know quite a bit about both of these, unfortunately.
And I just want to be very clear. You and I teach and work in medical terminology a lot in the school and what we do. And I'm just going to break those words down.
Go for it.
Okay. Homophobia. Anytime you put phobia at the end of something, it means fear.
Yeah. Trust me, I know.
And transphobia. So, I've kind of take those terms and look at the pure thing that they're afraid of. Fear of homosexuals and fear of trans people.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that it's astounding how much fear is actually associated with hate.
Yeah.
Because we tend to hate what we're afraid of.
Yeah.
Okay. And the old adage, if you speak out too much about something, there may be a reason. Okay. Well, turns out that may not be far from the truth, because if you are actually afraid of something, why would you be afraid of that thing?
Yeah.
Especially if they're not harassing you. Now, I will say we have a lot of times when you go out to a gay event as a straight person, people may catcall you if they know you're straight. They may, say things like, boy, you're really good looking or whatever. I don't know. I'm not in the dating scene anymore. I don't know what the young people say these days.
They're a little bit more direct nowadays.
Yeah. But I think that, and I'm not saying that everybody does that. I'm saying a few people do that. Yeah.
But the loudest voices in the room get all the attention.
Get all the attention. Yeah. And one of my heterosexual friends, and it's sad that I have to label them that way, and I'm not going to call out names, but one of my heterosexual friends, her husband will often go, if we go somewhere, especially like a pride event or something, and she gets excited. I don't mean sexually excited. She gets excited when somebody's catcalling her husband, or if they're coming on to him and he gets uncomfortable. It's not really that she wants him to feel uncomfortable.
No.
But she, as a woman, deals with that all the time because she's very beautiful. And when he gets to experience that,
gets to walk a mile in her shoes.
He walks a mile in her shoes. And he's even said, I don't let that bother me anymore because it's human nature to be attracted to people.
Yeah.
I just tell him I'm straight and that this is my wife and that I'm very flattered. He got nervous when it first started happening.
Yeah.
But today he sees what she is going through. And he says, this is him talking. He saw the TikToks and things about, would you rather be alone in the woods with a man or a bear?
Yeah.
He says, I understand why everybody's choosing the bear.
Yeah.
That
takes a whole other connotation at a pride event.
Absolutely.
You got to
be very clear in the gay community when you're talking about bears. So back to the homophobia and transphobia.
Yeah.
Okay. It boils down to hate and fear.
Yeah.
I think. And you may have a different opinion, but I think it boils down to hate and fear. And I'm going to say my entire life, adult life, I've worked to talk about compassion, love, and understanding.
Yeah.
And I spread those terms around liberally. And as a former student, you get sick of hearing me talk about it.
Yeah, it's all right.
And my friends get sick of hearing me talk about it, I'm sure. But when we talk about transphobia and we talk about homophobia, I think everybody understands what those terms mean.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we need to go into detail on those. I want to talk about just a variation on that.
Okay.
Internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
And internalized transphobia.
Yeah.
That's self-hate.
That really is.
Okay. And self-loathing. And I think that's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a judgment on the person. That's a judgment on society. We have caused people not to like themselves or to fear themselves or to not accept themselves. And that's ended up in so many deaths by their own hand that it saddens me.
And I just want to take a moment to also say, as somebody who has experienced and continues to experience homophobia due to the spaces that I'm in, the MMA community, I have 2 trans partners. I see a lot of transphobia all the time. I think the natural reaction for some members of the queer community is to meet that sort of distaste, anger, and hatred with their own distaste, anger, and
meet
hatred.
that energy where it's at. Yeah.
Whenever I see the phrase, I hate all cisgendered straight people, I wish all cisgendered straight people would die, I don't see a difference in that phrasing versus I think all queer people should die. I think all trans people should just jump off a cliff. It is so unhelpful. It may feel cathartic. It may feel nice to get it out.
You don't have to say everything you feel.
Exactly.
And you probably really don't feel that way. You're probably just saying it for social media.
Exactly.
Or you may feel it in the moment, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I'm not trying to come down on anybody. Or condemn anybody or even judge anybody. I just think that, society back in the 80s when HIV and AIDS was on the uprise, and it still is, but when it was just coming to the surface, the solution in some people's mind were take these people and put them on an island.
Oh my God.
And let them leave us alone. And that's been a actual solution that people had for GLBTQIA plus individuals and all the other alphabet mafia. I don't want to leave anybody out, but it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's been a solution that people have come up with. It would be the most fabulous island.
Yeah, it'd be pretty dope. Like Kauai, you put us all on Kauai or something.
And I've often said, what would you do? What are the, jokingly, I say, what would the straight people do for clothes and hairstyles and fashion
music
and good music and good movies? And the list goes on and on. But
I love that idea too, that if you just take all of the current known gay people and ship them off,
it would just stop.
Yeah, then it would just disappear overnight.
Yeah. I don't know. It really comes down to like discrimination, prejudice, and in today's society, it feels like we're de-evolving.
Oh yeah, socially for sure.
Socially, and I think the statement that you and I want to put out is that we are 100% in support of the queer community.
Oh, yeah. I think that's been clear.
Okay. But just because we're part of the queer community does not mean that we don't 100% support people of color.
Yeah.
That we don't 100% support women.
Yeah.
And women's right to autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
It also doesn't mean that we don't support anyone who's Caucasian and heterosexual.
Yeah.
What we're not going to support, and I think this is a mandate from the hosts here
Yeah.
is that this show is not going to support hate,
No, absolutely.
discrimination, or prejudice. We're not going to be allowing on this show that type of behavior.
Mm-mm.
So I think that as we start to wind down here, it calls to question, where are we now? How far have we come? And how far do we have to go? Okay. And from my perspective, because this is my reality, right? I need to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And most days I do. And then the Tennessee legislature puts a bill up that says, hey, let's not acknowledge gay marriage. And then I feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Or I don't feel safe when my friends are not safe.
Yeah.
And I have lots of trans friends and family members.
Mm-hmm.
And when they don't feel safe going to use the bathroom or being who they are, I get very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know? So where are we today? We have won a lot of battles, but we have not won the war. And I don't think that any queer individual today should feel safe. I don't want you to feel unsafe, but I don't think you should have a complete security blanket wrapped around you, because women really recently lost autonomy of their bodies.
Yeah.
And wasn't too far in the past where, because of who you were, could get you killed.
Yeah.
And people supported that.
Mm-hmm.
So where we are, we've come a long way, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Are we there yet? Absolutely not. And to the younger generation, you may say, why is this Gen X person giving us advice? Because I've lived it.
Yeah.
I know how bad it can be. And I'm not judging you for being comfortable. I want you to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm going to tell you is the fight is not over. The battle is not over. We have not won this war. Until they can't take our rights away, we will not have won this war. That's why pride's important.
Be comfortable. Don't be complacent.
Right. Vote.
Yeah.
Register to vote.
If you haven't already.
And remember, silence equals death.
It does for a lot of people.
Pride Month is not just about the parades and the rainbow flags. It's about the ongoing struggle for equality, the battles fought by those who came before us, and the hope we carry forward for a more inclusive future. It's about recognizing the diversity within the queer community and understanding that each person's experience is unique and valuable. It's a reminder of the courage it takes to live authentically and the strength needed to embrace one's true self. To all our listeners, whether you're a part of the queer community or an ally, know that your love and support makes a difference. Your understanding creates a bridge to a world where everyone can be proud of who they are without fear or hesitation. I'm reminded of the vibrant spectrum that makes up our community. From the bold reds of resilience to the serene blues of acceptance, each color represents a story, a struggle, and a celebration. You know, it's funny, growing up, I thought I had to fit into a neat little box. I used to think I was alone in the kaleidoscope of existence. But now I see millions of colors swirling around me, weaving a tapestry of resilience and authenticity. I am surrounded by all of these beautiful colors, and I've come to realize that I am my own masterpiece. This journey is about love. Love for ourselves, love for each other, and love for a world that's still learning to see us. Indeed, love is a universal language. It transcends borders, defies norms, and paints our lives with a multicolored rainbow of hope. As we celebrate Pride this month, let's remember that our stories matter. Let's remember we matter.
So, family, as we end this episode, Let's remember that the spirit of pride doesn't end with this month. Carry it with you, in your actions and in your heart, all year round. Let's continue to lift each other up, to celebrate the victories, and to support each other through the challenges. To all the queer hearts out there, you are seen, you are loved, and you are a part of something bigger, a living, breathing rainbow.
Now, family, you adults have a few chores to do. Go on over to ravensvail.com and see about doing your chores on social media. Follow us on all the social media platforms that we've made available just for you folks. Like, listen, subscribe, and follow wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you don't mind, leave us a good rating and a kind comment. You can find the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you haven't already, just search for the Ravens Vail Cauldron podcast. And again, make sure that you hit the follow button to stay up to date with our latest episodes.
Oh, and tell your friends about us, won't you?
So until next time, family, see you soon.
The Ravens Vail Cauldron is a production of Small Raven Media. Today's episode was hosted by Ed Bolden-Greer with co-host Jacob A. Garner. Audio engineering and sound design by Nick Devan at Nicky D Sound. Copyrighted 2024, Small Raven Media. All rights reserved.